Hi friends, welcome back to The Story Highway. Today's story is called The Music Box. It's a heartwarming tale about empathy, kindness, and how a small act of help can change someone's life forever. So sit back, listen carefully, and enjoy this inspiring English story. One quiet afternoon in a small town in Virginia, a 12-year-old girl named Sophie sat by her bedroom window, practicing her violin. The sweet notes floated across the street, and as she played, Sophie noticed something she had seen many times before. Her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Green, was sitting silently by her own window. She always seemed to be watching the world with tired eyes, her face gentle but touched with sadness. Sophie often wondered why Mrs. Green always sat alone. One day, she decided to wave at her. To her surprise, Mrs. Green raised her hand slowly and gave a faint smile in return. That small smile stayed in Sophie's heart. The next day, Sophie waved again, and soon it became a daily ritual. Little by little, a quiet connection began to form between them. One weekend, gathering her courage, Sophie decided to visit Mrs. Green's house. When the elderly woman opened the door, her face lit up with warmth. Sophie sat with her in the cozy living room, where old photographs and books covered the shelves. Over tea and cookies, Sophie learned something new. Years ago, Mrs. Green had a daughter who also played music. The daughter had grown up and moved far away, and though Mrs. Green still loved her dearly, she rarely got to see her. That loneliness had left a deep silence in her life. Sophie's heart ached for her. She thought for a long time about how she could bring joy back into her neighbor's life. The next afternoon, Sophie picked up her violin, and instead of playing in her room, she walked outside and began playing in Mrs. Green's garden. The notes drifted through the air like sunlight, and Mrs. Green, sitting by her window, smiled wider than Sophie had ever seen. Soon, it became their evening tradition. Sophie would play, and Mrs. Green would listen, her eyes often glistening with happy tears. One day, after a song, Mrs. Green invited Sophie inside again. From a small wooden chest, she took out an old music box, delicate and a little dusty. She placed it in Sophie's hands and said softly, "This belonged to my daughter. She used to play it every night before bed. I want you to have it." Sophie turned the tiny key, and a gentle tune filled the room. It was fragile, but beautiful, and Sophie felt as though the little box carried all of Mrs. Green's memories and love. From that day, Sophie often played the tune of the music box on her violin, and every time she did, Mrs. Green closed her eyes and hummed along. As weeks passed, neighbors who walked by heard the music too. They began stopping near the garden, listening quietly. Soon the whole street started gathering in the evenings, not only to hear Sophie's violin, but also to check in on Mrs. Green, greeting her with warmth. A woman who had once been lonely was now surrounded by kindness and laughter. One evening, as the sun painted the sky pink and gold, Sophie played a song she had written herself, a melody of hope and friendship. Mrs. Green sat in her chair, smiling proudly, while children laughed and families stood together, enjoying the music. Sophie realized in that moment that her violin had not only brightened Mrs. Green's life, but had also built a bridge of empathy across the entire neighborhood. And so, the music box, once a symbol of loss and distance, became a reminder of connection, kindness, and love. Sophie learned that even the smallest gesture, a wave, a song, a smile, can heal loneliness and spread joy. So, friends, That was the story of Sophie and Mrs. Green in the music box. It teaches us that empathy and kindness can brighten even the darkest days. Never underestimate the power of a small good deed. It can change lives forever. If you enjoyed this long story, please like, share, and subscribe to The Story Highway for more inspiring English stories. See you again with another beautiful story next time.